Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. For those who have followed this channel for some times, I have mentioned to you before that very soon we will start feeling the pain of this secret deal that was signed between William Samoei Ruto and the West. And most people think that I'm just talking. I had mentioned and proved to you that when William Ruto wanted to get to power, he went to Chatham House and there were several things that they agreed upon. The West was to do anything to ensure that he occupies the most coveted land, State House. And William Ruto in return was to ensure that he implemented the conditions that they were given. We need not to repeat that the other day we saw the West trying to introduce the LGBTQ plus through the back door, through the Koome-led judiciary. But that is not the issue here, because Kenyans rejected, but nevertheless it has been passed that the LGBTQ plus has, that community has freedom and rights of association. Then you saw how William Ruto rushed to lift the ban on GMO, genetically modified organisms, and is going to ensure that we consume these GMO materials whether we like it or not. But that is not even what I want to talk about. I also mentioned to you that the IMF, International Monetary Fund, had given Ruto certain conditions because William Ruto wanted loan. And one of the things was to abandon all the subsidies. This is now in the public knowledge. Uhuru Kenyatta, after the corona pandemic, decided to introduce subsidies on fuel, on maize flour, and electricity, and even school fees. When William Ruto took oath of office, the first thing he did was to abandon all the subsidies and lift the ban on GMO, quite opposite to what President Uhuru Kenyatta did. Now, as we speak, the result is the cost of electricity is high, the cost of education is high, the cost of maize flour is high, the cost of fuel is high. And you know, when the cost of fuel is high, it affects all the other production and everything becomes even higher and higher. There is one that has been remaining in the offing, and it has been looming. I've been waiting for it, but I have seen it coming. The other thing that William Ruto was told, and you go and check, is that William Ruto was to retrench more civil servants, because there was some talks about the wage bill, and the international community, the IMF to be precise, had put a condition that William Ruto was to retrench more. And I want you to understand, as a hustler nation, that when you voted for William Ruto had promised you the hustler fund. You have been given the hustler fund. If you qualify, you take, even if it is 500, and then your story is forgotten. William Ruto no longer talks about the hustlers. He talks about 2027. He talks more about Raila Odinga and the demonstrations than he talks about the hustler. They talk more about Uhuru Kenyatta more than they talk about the hustler. Whenever they are cornered, they have an excuse. And thank God, because Uhuru Kenyatta is still there. Because every blame is piled on Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. So the time has come, and it seems that the IMF wants William Ruto to start retrenchment. When the conversation about the delayed salaries of civil servants emerged, the chairman of economic strategies in Kenya Kwanza team, and I always call him the author and the defender of the bottom-up economy, went on Twitter and he was chatting with people. People were, some had a lot of outbursts against him. Some were asking why civil servants for the first times have not been paid their salaries, and he was answering them. There is this conversation that came up, and this is what Keep Kwech said, that having a loan doesn't mean you stop feeding to service it. There can never be any justification for not paying salaries. Mark you, not only are the employees affected, but the larger extended families they support. So this was a conversation that had ensued because the Kenya Kwanza team crafted an answer that they were not paying civil servants because they wanted to. They were in the process of servicing loans that were left behind by Uhuru regime. So they said that the money that they collected, the KRA collected last week, was used to pay loans. So this guy was telling him that there should never be any justification, even if you are servicing a loan, any justification not to pay civil servants. Because this guy is saying that not only do you affect the civil servants, but even the extended families. There are people who even live in towns and they get salary, then they send it to their grannies and mothers and daddies at the rural suburbs. So this guy was actually affected, or he knew someone who was affected. But what David D said is just a glimpse of what I'm talking about. This is what he said, that we could also retrench. That is an option. That answer, as short and simple as it may seem to be, is huge and very enormous, and the impact of that answer will soon be known. I want to submit to you that in the midst of all this, in the midst of all sufferings in this Kenya Kwanza regime, when the unemployment rate is increasing and the basic commodities have got their prices skyrocketing, we are facing another turbulent times, because soon you will see retrenchment of civil servants. The other day, Musalia Mudavadi said that they want to scrutinize and see areas where we have ghost workers. And that is the excuse that they want to use. They want to start sweeping and retrenching people under the guise of ghost workers. And this is courtesy of the International Monetary Fund. This is the pain of becoming a puppet of the West. If we are not careful, if we don't rise up, we will consume GMO. If we don't rise up, LGBTQ will be forced on us. If we are not careful, people will be retrenched. And because we are not careful, all the subsidies have been abandoned. And so, ladies and gentlemen, where you are, I'm not a prophet of doom, but I have to give you this because it is the reality. As long as Samuel Ruto is in power, he will be dancing to the tune of the West. America, Britain, the European Union, and they have conditions. And these conditions don't work well for us. It only works for them. Because, for example, GMO is meant to look for a market for American farmers. It will kill all our traditional seeds and will be slaves to the USA. LGBTQ is not in our culture, and because we don't accept it, they have labeled us uncivilized, because in their sight you must accept their culture, whether it is dirty, whether you don't like it, for you to be civilized. They're looking at their interest. And of course, I'm not talking about the huge contracts of building roads and all that they should be given. So let us brave for tough times, because the president that we have signed a secret deal, and this deal will soon come to affect all Kenyans. Ladies and gentlemen, wait for the day if you think I'm lying. You can write this date, or you can ask Ndi, because there he is. He was saying we could retrench because that is an option. And I can assure you that is an option that will soon fall on some of the civil servants. Every choice has got consequences. And that is my take.